under the legendary Soke Lil John Davis. Before I bring on my guests, I'm actually want everyone to know that we're streaming live on Instagram, our Facebook fan page, our Facebook group, and our YouTube page. What I'm getting ready to do now is get ready to give my guest the link so that he can follow along. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. So let me give. All right. So, Professor, I'm sending you this link through Facebook, correct? Okay. Let me send it through Facebook. Yeah, through the messenger. No, I didn't send it yet. Okay. Here it is. I just sent it. All right, there it is. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. You still didn't get it? All right, click it. Let me know when you see it. And remember, yeah, yeah. So forget that. So you have it. So that's the link, but it's gonna buffer because it's streaming. All right, it's gonna buffer because it's streaming. But you do see it moving though, right? Do you see the Doc Magazine? Do you see the Doc Magazine logo and the streaming starting? It says streaming starting. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna start. Yeah, we're gonna start. Okay. Okay. So I'm getting ready to move. Getting ready to bring you in, Professor. Professor, I'm getting ready to bring you in. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Welcome, Professor Walter Evans. You are now live on Doc Magazine streaming. How you doing today, sir? Professor?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing great. Can you hear me fine?
Great, great.
Okay.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So we're gonna just jump right into it. You started training in 1969. Started training in 1969. Start us from there. Start us from your beginning. Introduce the audience to who you are, your name, and take us to the beginning of, take us to your origin.
Okay. My name is Walter Evans. You know, they call me Shihan. They call me Sensei. All sorts of titles, but you know that I don't really. I'm not big on titles. You know, I'm big on training and just absorbing all of the byproducts of martial arts. You know, I've been doing martial arts approximately 54 years. My primary instructors, as you know, are Little John Davis. I come from the Sinukis family, put it that way. And so I've been training 54 years, primary instructor, Little John Davis. And then we have the head of the system, which is Supreme Grandmaster Dr. Moses Powell. Um, so I met Little John and Dr. Moses Powell, uh, I guess in 69, in New Haven, Connecticut, where I was living with my grandfather. They happened to come to town. I'm originally from New York. So they happened to come to town, and I went to see this exhibition of this from New York, who came in to do this demo for the community. We saw some of the awesomest martial artists in the world. We had Thomas the Puppet. We had the Wilder twins from Grandmaster George. Many instructors came that day, but one of the ones who really stuck out to me the most was Dr. Moses Powell. They call him Master Moses Powell, Master Musa back then, and Little John Davis. They did an exhibition, and with a slight twist to me, because they introduced jujitsu, where before training with them, I was doing taekwondo and Muay Korean style, big on kicking and form. And so that's where I started with that Korean style. But we witnessed this, and it changed our life. I mean, our martial arts aspirations all together. When we saw the roles, when we saw them in the martial arts that Doc presented and Little John presented. At the time, it wasn't called Sinukis, as you know, or a lot of people know, but it was called Self-Defense Complete. That was the name of the style. And so I guess Doc morphed over, changed some things, and decided to call the system now. And I don't know exactly what year that was. Some of you guys might know. To Sinukis. So that was definitely in the 70s, early 70s, it changed to Sinukis.
All right. So now, Professor.
Doc decided.
Now, Professor, I know you said that you first started, you was with a Korean master and a brother from
You have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me, Professor? Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, you're breaking up a lot, but I can hear that question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm still breaking up.
A lot of buffering and breaking. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So the
But I can hear you pretty much. Just, talk with it. I'll let you know.
so tell me about the Korean master, the brother from college, George Warrington. Take us back to when you had the the brother that you told me about from college, from your university. He was into martial arts, and then there was a Korean master, and he came to the door, and then Little John.
Okay. Yes, I remember telling you that story. Well, that was the beginning of a martial arts training. I had a uncle that was in the Korean War. He came home, and he was showing me a couple of moves. And so that really ignited my interest for martial arts training. I've never seen anything like it. So I would look in the big windows at the universities I went to pass by, and I saw the judo and their dojo. I watched, and then finally I witnessed a karate school. I had the opportunity in New Haven on Broad Street. I saw the big karate sign, and I went upstairs. I believe I was like 14, 15 at the time. And so I walked upstairs, and I heard this yelling. I heard the, martial arts being taught, very traditional. And at that time, in '69, it was really traditional, and it was mystical, as you can imagine. I mean, it was just basically just getting here. So I sat and I watched him teach several times. I'd visit, and one day he said, "Come on, why don't you try joining in?" So I did so, with my street clothes on. It's a scary thing, but I started and I got comfortable, and eventually he showed me where I could get a uniform. So in this place at New Haven, up in New Haven, at that karate dojo, was karate. But in the first half, as you walk up the stairs, there was another dojo, another section, and they were teaching judo. They were practicing judo. Um, and that also sparked my interest, but not as much as the karate. But what did spark my interest and curiosity was to see a brother in that group doing judo, a young brother about my age. And so I never interrupted that class, but it turned out to be, which I met him later on, not even at that time or that year. I met him a little later, maybe a year or two. And that was the George Logan, what we would call now Grandmaster George Logan. He was training in the jiu-jitsu, and I believe that he was a brown belt at the time, a green or a brown. I think I witnessed a transition with him. So I continue my training with Tahi Lee was his name, the Korean instructor. Just got off, could hardly speak English. It was very broken. So I trained with him for a couple of years. I achieved the rank of green belt under Mr. Tahi Lee. And I became a really good fighter with him in the dojo, you know, with the kicking skills. You know, and so I trained with him in multiple locations. He changed his location. So the new location that I was training with him at, we got a visitor one day, you know, and this is after I started training with Little John. I met Little John. We had trained a few times. I met Dr. Moses Powell. He bought a house, he had a house up on the hill, literally up on the hill, like
Wow.
people would loot. You know, it was, yeah, you know. So I don't know how he got it. You know, Doc was really a man of many talents, and he was doing really good at that time, moving with large entourages and many students. And so I trained there a few times. George Logan as well, trained there. And so let me see. So anyway, I still was teaching with my Korean instructor, Mr. Tahi Lee. Was really loyal to martial arts, period. And I started with him. Up until the time Little John visited his dojo, Tahi Lee's dojo. And I saw him waiting in the waiting room. And then one of the highest ranking black belts went out and asked him, "What are you doing here? How can I help you?" In that tone of voice. And you talking to Little John at that time with that tone of voice. And Little John was only 21 years old at the time. I remember his birthday.
Wow.
I don't think he liked that. I don't think he liked that boy's attitude. So moving along in the story, Tahi Lee, he promoted a big karate tournament at the YMCA. And lo and behold, Little John, well, we knew he was going to show up. And Little John showed up, along with George Logan, all of the big martial artists in that town. There was a teacher that George was training with, George at Warrington Hutland, was rolling with us, in fact. So Warrington, Hudlin, George Logan, there was Warren Span and Kevin, and a bunch of us was training with Little John. But I was kind of back and forth, undecided, and loyal to the Korean system. But that meant there was, back in that day, it was fight, a lot of fighting, a lot of rough fighting, a lot of people getting hurt, knocked out, whatever. But, you know, it was a well-run tournament because Tahi Lee, the Koreans was running it. And not to say we can't run tournaments, but it was just mystical at the time. And they called Little John up to compete to Kumite. I think he took first place in kata. his raggedy gi. One thing about Little John back in the day, he never had a new gi on. Like his gis were like he just came from the desert training, or the
Yeah.
mountains training.
Yeah.
He's big on
Mhm.
training. So his gi, you're looking at Little John in that gi, you say, man, what is this guy, man? He's kind of scary looking. Really. Strings were hanging from the gi, a couple of holes here and there.
Mm.
So, but he did a magnificent kata, something that a lot of people don't realize. That Soke Lil John Davis, my teacher, is excellent kata practitioner and weapons.
Mm.
So he took his first place divisions there, and they called his name for fighting. And I guess they figured the only person they could match him off with, that give him any, trouble, would be this Korean high-ranking student of my instructor, Tahi Lee, at that
Mm.
time. Look, man, here I am, like on pins and needles, watching Little John fight the Korean. Everybody gathered around the ring to watch this, and of course, Little John showed out.
Hey, can you kind of tell us how to
The
fight?
Korean started out with his kicks, and
Can you kind of paint the picture what that fight was like?
yeah,
Yeah. Take us from the beginning. Paint the picture. Scene by scene.
well, they called them out. They entered, bowed at each other, and it started out like right away a dog
Mm.
fight, and that this brother was fighting so strong, so hard, and so you can tell that he had to really buckle down and pull out his best techniques that he had, to no avail. Because Little John was fighting hard, he was hitting hard, he was kicking hard, and it was hard for the Korean to even block.
Mm.
Um, I mean, Little John hit him, he buckled him with a punch to the stomach, buckled him. And Little John was a calm fighter, so he just backed, he kicked his legs together, backed up, went back to his mark. And the Korean looked like he was going to come out with something hard and strong. And Little John, man, he did a spinning hook kick and hit him to the body, knocked him back out the ring.
Damn.
Black belt got back in.
Wow.
Little John finished it up. He did spin around on the ring, on the floor, in the middle of the dojo, the tournament floor. He hit him on the shoulders, technique that I love now. Turned him and grabbed him and took him down
Man.
to the floor. So the boy, this is my MMA, he had locked his legs up. He had him in a lock, and he did this, scratched him across the eye, and rolled him off of him. He rolled up on his feet.
Damn.
Everybody was like, whoa. They expected Korean to be the top five.
Right. So
But
what?
that wasn't the case. It's wrong to find out.
So what did that do to?
So they was no good, Tahi Lee.
Mm. So what did that do to your psyche, seeing a brother,
Did you say
beat the?
something?
Yeah. What did that do to your psyche when you saw the brother beat the Korean?
I think it I think it touched everybody's psyche in the room to see that.
Mm.
A young Korean in his 20s as well, strong, fit looking guy, showing off his high, strong kicks,
Mm.
good form, to get just toyed with by this brother.
So let me
And
ask you this: what did
they
it
stopped the
what did it do to the mythicism? To the mysticism of did the mythicism go away at that point?
I can't I can't say what it did for a whole bunch of other people. Obviously they witnessed something special.
Mm.
So I'm sure it affected their psyche in some kind of way. And speaking of that, it forced me to make my mind up on who I was going to continue training with.
No doubt.
And that was Soke Lil John, or Master Lil John at that time.
So now,
And so from there,
so
I started. And, of course, he got disqualified.
mm.
And Lil John was big on being disqualified. He would hit hard. That's it. Hit hard. Hit disqualified.
Mhm.
So the story was Little John never really traveling. He never really took a whole lot of first places, other than Sunnyside Gardens where they were used to that hard, strong fighting
Yeah.
style
Yeah.
because they would try to disqualify him real quick and get him out the game.
Hmm.
So but they disqualified him on the Korean. But the Korean he looked like he got hit by a truck. You know, he had claw marks across his face.
Mm.
He had a couple of bruises up on his head where he got hit.
So
So it was a battle.
so now if we look on the screen, we see a picture of Doc Magazine of the Basement. The name of this interview is called Lil John's Basement. Now, tell us the street. Give us a visual. How did you get to the basement? Was it in the bottom of a building, a house? What did it look like inside the basement? Bring us back to what was the basement. Everybody want to know what this basement was.
And let me tell you, there was many basements training with Lil John. There was many basements in New York. And these were places that Lil John or any instructor could get, without paying storefront rent. And Lil John had a pretty good following with any borough he went to. So we were in and out. Before I trained with him in these basements, there were many other little spots that we trained leading up to the main dojo the basement dojo where he had for several years. There was a place in the Bronx out, I believe it was Yonkers. He had a storefront he had rented from someone. That's where I met Bill McLeod, Professor Bill McLeod. You might have heard of him from the Sinuka system.
Of course.
And I've also met a few others up there at that time. But from there he moved his classes to Manhattan. Let me see, where did we move from there? I think he moved to the Cathedral on 110th Street.
Mm.
And 110th Street in Columbus. Yeah, Columbus. And we were training in the recreation room there. Easy access for people to get off that 110th Street train. And
so let me ask you.
That didn't last not too long.
So, Professor, when you go into the basement, give us a visual. What was the training like? What kind of equipment did you have, or did you not have any equipment? Like, take us inside the basement.
Okay, like I said, we moved around a lot, so there wasn't a hell of a lot of equipment. There was the bag, the kicking bag that followed us around, and there were no styrofoam gloves at all. We didn't wear gloves.
Wow.
And there was always Shinai stick, whether it was the short one or long one. It was a traditional training weapon for Soke.
What was
to help guide the class around? A lot of the students who train with Lil John knows. They could tell you a lot about that Shinai stick.
So what was the warm ups like? Like when you got started, like what kind of conditioning did you?
Well, any location that we train in, the X John is known to be one of the hard classes to make it through on the train. A lot of times people just don't make it. They end up going to the bathroom, or they just want to sit down and rest. It's hard to make it through this training. It was really hard.
But
sit-ups, crazy sit-ups, all kinds of crazy. So if you were a fighter or fighters, you would come from Lil John's class in just a few weeks. Very muscular. He would train you. We did neck exercises like boxing players would do. You would come out. You would find muscles in your body you never had before. I know because. I was surprised to find muscles in my wrist. My neck got thicker. I was always like 150, 55, but that class, going through that training with Soke, would leave the forearms People would call me Popeye. My forearms were strong from the Iron Man techniques that we did, from the push-ups that we did. Magnificent and superb, you know. No matter what sport you do, you know, I don't know if there's any workout you can go to that was harder than in this class here.
Man.
Than Soke's warm-ups. In fact, anybody who trained with you long enough would tell you they would wait. They would wait to exercise when they thought exercises were over.
Mm. Hey, Professor. Professor. Professor, I think
There's going to be some repercussions on that. You know, he's going to work you extra hard to make goals. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Brother Shabazz, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so either then or later, during sparring, he's going to make you stay up on that floor and spar extra long.
Because you came.
You know, I guess to let you know that you're in shape, you know, Bible training. Like we were going to walk out of that dojo into a combat zone. And that's the way you felt. You felt like you could take on the world when you left that class.
So
you was in shape. You had good endurance, you know. But let me tell you, it's very traditional to train with. I'm saying brothers. And he's also one of the coolest instructors you could ever have.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I get that.
You in class.
Yeah, the few times that I talked to Soke, he does seem mad cool. He seemed like. Let me ask you, Professor.
No ego. He's very humble.
Hey, Professor, that's from the magazine.
Oh, that basement. Okay, that basement was on a 105th, and Broadway, an apartment building. And we did hardcore training there. And a lot of basements always had that hard floor with that gray enamel paint, the very shiny. We didn't start out with mats. Little John would get to one borough to another vehicle driving, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't carry around have mats a lot of times. We didn't start getting mats until the second dojo. So, but that picture that you see there, photo shoot, a brother came in and we did a photo shoot that day. We took that picture and a few others, you know, some promotional pictures. And I had a few. I lost them in my travels, unfortunately, on travels. So that was one to hold on to.
Well, Professor, I got a question. Soke Lil John has a notorious reputation for sword training. Obviously, you made it through the training. Obviously, you're a professor. So that says about how strong and tough you are, and how strong your self-determination is, and how much of a warrior you are. So my question is, what made you survive that training? How was you able to survive the training? Like what?
You know, I was.
You said you was following your brother.
You broke up.
You said you was following
my brother, man. I really dug Little John, man. Anybody who trained with Little John was proud for him to be their instructor. You know, he's one of the best. Hardcore, you know, you qualified. You know, and that was Dr. Moses Powell's best student, undisputed. His best student, and system, the best systems out there. And it wasn't just myself, you know, some of my dojo brothers, you know, like George Logan, Warrington, Hudlin, because if they were training with someone else, and they were training with the George Brumsey doing Sainukis already, his version of Sainukis, because he trained with Doc moving up to New Haven. So George combined his judo with the Sainukis, and in Warrington, combined whatever he was doing with Sinukis, and I came in and combined my Taekwondo with Little John's system, and we stuck it out. We got pretty strong.
Mm. Okay, so let's. Okay, so
In
now.
fact, are you
Okay.
still with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Professor. I'm with you, Professor. Professor, I'm with you. Oh, Professor, I think I lost you. Did I lose you? All right, I'm gonna get the professor to call us back. In the meantime, I'll take a little intermission. I'll be right back. Okay, Professor, I'm gonna bring you back in the show. Give me one moment. Hit your camera. Yeah, hit your camera. Yeah, Professor, we're live. I need you to hit your camera. Your 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 Skype is buffering. All right. Okay. Uh, you have your camera on. All right. Try to hit your camera. Is your camera showing? All right. Let me. All right. It keeps saying poor connection on your side. Okay. All right. Let me. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause if it's poor connection, yeah, yeah. So try that and call me right back. Okay. Now, Professor, you on your phone or your computer?